Hi. The word of the week has been belong, and I think about that word often. And it's part of our mission at St. John's is that, no matter who you are or where you are on your journey of faith, not only are you welcome in our community, you are welcome as just who you are. You are welcome at God's table. And I think that is kind of at the heart of who we are as St. John's. And yet, belonging is such a human need. I think it's one of the things about this pandemic that is so challenging in this time of physical distancing, and is that through our evolution, we've learned that gathering together is safer, and it actually helps us survive throughout time. It was like back in the time of the saber-toothed tiger, we learned that if we were in big groups, we were safer, and yet here we are in a time when they're saying that that's not safe. And I think it's actually contrary to our human nature. That I think that's why this isolation is so difficult, even if it is in our best interest. And yet, belonging, I think, has this tendency. I think at times where I've heard people say things like, "Well, it wasn't that welcoming there," or "I just don't feel welcome." And you're right. Communities need to be hospitable. They need to be safe. They need to be a place where we can share who we are and be vulnerable and be welcomed in. And yet, what I have learned in my own life is that belonging is a two-way street. First, yes, you've got to find a place where you can be safe and be welcomed in. And so there are definitely communities and families and situations in life that aren't safe. And so that is such a challenge. And yet, I also realize that part of belonging is me being willing to risk, me being willing to put myself out there. What I have watched over and over in my time at St. John's is the people that kind of are just all in are the people that the community just puts their arms around. It's kind of this. I'm a big posture person. I love the images of posture. And if I want to belong, but I'm like this, which I can sometimes be, believe it or not, where I'm kind of holding on too tightly and a little timid and afraid for maybe very good reasons, it also makes it very difficult for the community to embrace me. And so it's when we can open ourselves and take that risk. Now, not only are we in the posture to give with our arms out, but we're also in the posture to receive that feeling of belonging. And this is tricky. It's not a simple thing, and it's not a straight line. It's more like a spiral as we continue to learn. I find that as I move through these stages of life, belonging as a child, what that felt like, belonging as a teenager, what that felt like or didn't feel like, what that felt like as a young adult and a person who was newly married, and then with children, the amazing gift that children can be. That I used to joke and say the only reason I have any friends is I have kids and I get to meet their parents. And so, but now as our children are grown and eventually, hopefully, will leave the nest when this pandemic is over, that Jennifer and I have a new way of looking through our life and our community. Where will we belong, and how will we kind of extend ourselves into the community so that we can add value, but also receive love? And so, this very human desire, human need, I believe, to belong, one of the things that I'm wrestling with and noodling about in my own prayers and thoughts and journaling is that it is a two-way street. It's not just the job of the family or the community or the employer or friend group to make sure I belong. It's also my responsibility to take the risk to show them who I am, to be present, and to give of myself. It is in that mutuality that true belonging happens. And the good news that I will leave you with is that our God never stands like this to us, always stands with God's arms open to us, looking at us saying, You are my beloved child. You belong with me. You belong to love. May we rest in that knowledge and take the risks to belong.